Hello, I'm High Heel Knight. Welcome to my channel. This is my miniature movie review of Shaft from 2019. It is a sequel and soft retcon of the 2000 film Shaft, which in itself was a sequel and soft retcon of the movie Shaft from 1971. Yes, all three films are named Shaft. I will be talking about the 2019 movie. So in this movie, John Shaft Jr., played by Jessie Usher, recruits his father, John Shaft Sr., played by Samuel L. Jackson, in order to help solve a murder mystery. John Shaft Jr.'s friend was found to have OD'd, but Jr. doesn't believe that it was a simple OD. He believes that it was a homicide. So father and son join up to solve the case, and along the way, they wind up recruiting John Shaft, played by Richard Roundtree, to help them solve the case and learn the truth about what's happened. So, as I mentioned, this is a soft retcon in that in the 2019 film, John Shaft, Richard Roundtree, and John Shaft, Samuel L. Jackson were uncle and nephew, which made a lot of sense because the actors are about 6 years age difference in real life. But in this movie, they are father and son, which is only a slight spoiler because in the trailers, you hear John Shaft Jr. refer to Richard Roundtree as Grandpa. So it's a 50-50 chance that either Grandpa is just a nickname or that he actually is the grandfather and they're going to change up the family dynamic. So that's where the soft retcon comes in. But as far as the movie's originality of itself, it's a crime comedy, whereas all the other Shafts have been crime dramas. This is a pure comedy, action comedy, and it's very funny. I was laughing throughout the whole movie. People in the audience were laughing at the whole movie. It's really fun, really exciting, really crazy. So on the comedy front, it was pretty cool. I also like that John Shaft Jr.'s character was much more competent than the trailers implied. The trailers implied that he was just a bumbling buffoon. It was out of his depths. But it turns out that he's actually an FBI analyst, so he has some combat training, he has some weapons training, but he's not a field guy, so that's why he's so out of his depth when he's trying to do all this action stuff. But he's actually very competent, so that's something I like. On the negatives, I got to bring up the language. Now, granted, they've had foul language throughout the entire franchise all the way back from 1971, so I can't really fault the film for it. But personally, I don't really like it, so I just acknowledge that, hey, it's not really my cup of tea. But what really upset me was this version of Shafts by Samuel L. Jackson. In the 2019 movie, Samuel L. Jackson's main complaint was that he didn't get to be a sex machine with all the chicks. So in the 2019 film, Shaft is constantly hitting on women, constantly trying to get with women, constantly talking about sex, which on itself wouldn't be so bad if he wasn't so juvenile about it. It's like he has no filter. He says all types of inappropriate things. He is constantly talking about anonymity and sex and all this kind of nonsense. He sends several inappropriate jokes to little John Shaft Jr. For birthdays and Christmas. And it's like, ooh, this isn't Shaft. All right, there's a scene where like Samuel Jackson says like, hey, James Bond was real, that cat would think he was me. No, James Bond wouldn't, because James Bond is smooth, okay? Imagine Samuel Jackson's character, Jules from Pulp Fiction, who is smooth and cool, but is always in control. Even when things get hot and heavy and crazy, he's always in control, he's always cool. Now take the character Stifler from the American Pie movies, who's always thinking about sex, who's always horny, who's always trying to get with her, who's always saying whatever absurd things comes out into his mind. You put those two characters together, and that's only our 2019 version of Shaft. This guy who acts so juvenile all the time. I just really hated that. Almost made me dislike the movie, but just enough, just hit the edge for me to not go into can't recommend territory. So yes, I do recommend the movie. It is fun, it is crazy, and like I said, be aware of the crazy language, and there is some brief nudity and things like that. But yeah, this version of Samuel L. Jackson's John Shaft, I didn't quite like. Way too juvenile for my taste. So I recommend the movie, but be aware this is not the Shaft we've had for the past, I don't know, what, 40 years or 50 years or whatever. Okay, so those are my thoughts on the 2019 Shaft. I would love to know what you thought of the movie. Be sure to share whatever comments you like in the comment section. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or dislike, share, and subscribe. Once again, I'm High Heel Knight. Thank you for watching, and remember, find inspiration everywhere.